Hello and welcome to episode 13 of AFC Fylde Still We Rise on Football Manager 2020. This episode is going to be a little bit different in that there will be no live game. That is due to the fact that I am extremely superstitious and I'm not comfortable playing a fixture in episode 13, which is invoking all sorts of bad luck, when we're on such a good unbeaten run and are top of the league. Worse than that, our next game is actually against Barnet, and should they defeat us, they'd go above us in the table. I am superstitious in all sort of elements of football, really. It's not something that I like to admit, but I do park in the same space at the ground if we've got a result. I will take the same directions to the ground, enter using the same turnstile and gate, buy a programme from the same seller, say hello to the same stewards. Admittedly, this season it has been a little bit difficult doing all that, especially because I need a new route to the ground every time we lose. I've gone on a lot of strange tours you won't see on any sort of maps in order to get to the ground, and in one case I went to Lancaster Services and back. So for that reason there isn't going to be a live game. Instead we're going to have a bit of a snoop around the save and just to see what other sort of things are going on. We've now hit the 11th of November, and that means there are some managerial movements and leagues taking shape. I do disable the transfer window, the initial transfer window at the start of the game, for two reasons. The first of all being that I am a bit of a hardcore football manager. I do believe that you should have to utilise the squad as your real life counterpart would at the start of the season. And it also, especially for this series, has saved me having to learn any new names just yet. In the past couple of weeks I have accepted two new members of staff onto the team. We've brought in Ian Durant here to run what we hope will become the under-23 squad. He is a Scottish international, 20 caps to his name. He played for Rangers for the majority of his career. He had a loan spell with Everton in 94-95 and then rounded off his career at Kilmarnock, which is where he joined the coaching staff for the his first job as a coach, before moving back over to Rangers, a variety of roles in Ibrox, including caretaker manager for 6 days in January 2007. Most recently he was the assistant at Dumbarton. I've also taken on Alan Smith, yes, that Alan Smith, as an under-18s coach with his 19 caps. Anybody that knows me knows that I am seduced by international caps. Alan has come on board, of course the young Leeds striker as he was back in the day. He famously went on record saying that he would never sign for Manchester United, then subsequently signed for Manchester United, had 3 years at Old Trafford under Sir Alex before heading over to Newcastle. Now he never really seemed happy at Newcastle. Most of that would be down to injuries and fitness concerns. After 5 seasons in the North East, he regressed down the leagues with MK Dons in League One, Notts County initially in League One, and then League Two for the final 3 seasons. At Notts, he did have a bit of a coaching job there in 2014 for a couple of months, but this is his first full-time coaching role. I say full-time, he is again on non-contract terms, much like Wes Brown and David Platt before him. We're fairly sure that means I'm not paying him. Just some petrol money. And trying to encourage them to stay away from the buffets at any Holiday Inns, or indeed Premier Inns. Other hotel chains are available. In terms of managerial moves, we shall have a look at the job centre. These are the current vacancies. Dumbarton, who have a very picturesque ground, won't have any problem attracting a new manager in League One in Scotland. Both Ross County and Motherwell of the Ladbrokes Premiership are on the search for a new boss. Craig Levine, the favourite for the Ross County gig, and Sam Allardyce, who appears on this list twice, the favourite for Motherwell. Vanarama National League South Side Slough, it's a lot of alliteration, they are looking for a new boss, no wonder, as they are 22nd in the table. FC Halifax in our own league, they're on the lookout for somebody to come in. They've got Stephen Presley seemingly poised to take over. In terms of the Football League, Neil Warnock could be returning to professional football with Swindon Town. I'd be very happy to see that. Neil is one of the great characters of the game, and if football needs anything right now, it is characters. The most handsome man in football, Quique Sanchez Flores, is on the shortlist for both Ipswich and Cardiff. I would suggest, if I were a betting man, that he will end up at Cardiff. You may as well give it a go in the Championship. Two Lancashire sides are on the lookout for a manager, Wigan and Blackburn, both at the lower reaches of the table. Sam Allardyce is evens to return to Ewood Park. Now, of course, Big Sam was at Ewood back in 2008 to 2010. Had a 2-year stint there. Of course, made his name certainly in the Premiership with Bolton. Such fantastic players as JJ Okocha, Yuri Djorkaeff, Ivan Campo, all appearing under his stewardship. He then really suffered from ownership changes and takeovers, both at Newcastle and Blackburn, before really rebuilding his reputation with West Ham, including promotion back to the Premier League. He was at Sunderland for a season. Then, of course, there was the ill-fated 2-month stint in the England job. He then moved to Crystal Palace and was most recently at Everton, although his style of football was not universally accepted at Goodison Park. In terms of our own league, one change that isn't on that list is at Boreham Wood. Paul Trollope has replaced Luke Garrard in the last few weeks. Boreham Wood are rooted to the foot of the table, as we will see in a moment, because we'll just have a look at the leagues that we have loaded. In the National League South, Maidstone are the pace setters, followed by Havant and Waterlooville and Weymouth. At the bottom there we've got Slough, struggling 5 points off Tunbridge and without a manager. In terms of the National League North, our friends at Southport are flying the flag for Lancashire. They're first in the table. Our FA Cup opponents to come are Gloucester, they're in 7th. Kings Lynn, I believe, won the National League North on points per game in real life, moving York, who are just behind them in the table, down 1, and thus starting the #Promote2 movement. Our old FA Cup opponents from the first round, Alfreton, still prop up the table. In terms of the National League, we obviously are top, we being AFC Fylde, the club that you know and love. We're 2 points clear of Barnet, who are our next opponents. Ebbsfleet and Barrow have been pretty much 3rd and 4th throughout the season. The interesting statistic on this screen for me is Notts County's points total. They are 8th and just outside the playoffs. So we've got 15 in hand over them, which after 17 games is quite a total, and says to me that we are at least playoff bound. At the bottom we've got Boreham Wood, as discussed, However, if we have a look at the media prediction, Yeovil Town have done appallingly. They were predicted second and are 23rd. On the flip side of that, Maidenhead were predicted 24th and they're in 14th. Not doing too badly. Up at the top, both ourselves and Barnet were expected to be in the playoff picture, as were Torquay. Notts County predicted first, so they were the team, of course, in 8th. Going up to League 2, at the bottom we've got Mansfield, closely linked to Morecambe and Macclesfield. Just a point and no points in it there, so all to play for. Salford, who of course defeated Fylde in the playoffs last season, are there in 17th, so not doing too badly for their first season in the Football League. Up at the top we have Scunthorpe, Bradford and Exeter in the automatic promotion places, and Forest Green just outside the playoffs. I believe they were promoted from the National League a couple of years ago. In League 1, Sunderland and Rotherham are top of the shop. Local teams like Blackpool are there in 8th, Fleetwood 18th, and then you've got big boys in terms of Portsmouth. They are 10th, Ipswich Town 16th, as we saw Ipswich are looking for new management. Bolton started the season with a big points deduction. They've got it back to +6 with 4 wins and 6 draws. They're only 10 points off AFC Wimbledon in 20th, so the survival bid is on. If they had been playing from 0, they'd have been on 18 points, so at least they would have been 20th. It's not been great for Bolton, but there is hope. In the Championship, the race for promotion sees Fulham top by 5 points. That's quite a sizable margin to Leeds. And then you've got some clubs with real Premier League pedigree. You know, clubs that have been there: Huddersfield, West Brom, Reading, Hull, even Charlton down in 9th. Alongside a couple that have never been in the Premiership, so the likes of Brentford, Preston, and you've got Bristol, level with Charlton, in 10th. As we saw, the likes of Blackburn and Wigan are towards the foot of the table. Barnsley prop up the Championship. The Championship is probably the most competitive league in world football, for my money. I mean, when you've got teams like Cardiff, who obviously were in the Premier League, Stoke are down there in 18th, Swansea 16th, Middlesbrough 14th. They're all very good and big clubs as well. Into the Premier League, and Liverpool are the leaders. Art imitating life there. Second, we've got Chelsea locked on 27 points with Manchester United. Big shout out to Burnley, another Lancashire side, and you always like to see them doing well. They're in 5th, ahead of Tottenham. Arsenal are struggling, as in real life at the moment. I'm not sure where they are in the real life table. I'm guessing 9th or 10th. They're 10th here. Which is a bit of a surprise because Arsenal generally seem to be quite overpowered on Football Manager. I suspect player turnover has got something to do with that. Down at the foot of the Premier League, Brighton are the only team in any of the leagues that we've just seen without a win to their name. 0 wins but 6 draws, and that's left them only a point shy of Crystal Palace. They're actually only 4 off Sheffield United in 17th. So that's certainly interesting. We shall travel up to our neighbours in the north to see what's happening over in Scotland. In League 2, we've got Queen's Park leading the way. Queen's Park, I believe, I could be wrong, play at Hampden Park. Yes, they do. I would like to see them do well and get promotion. Into League 1, it's Falkirk. who I think were a Championship club last year. There we have Dumbarton in 9th, just 4 points above Forfar. The two Dundee clubs lead the way in the Ladbrokes Championship. Dundee with a 5-point advantage over their very near neighbour rivals, United. Ayr struggling with just 7 points. And before I click on the Ladbrokes Premiership, I'm going to guess Celtic first, Rangers second. I think that's sort of what we commonly expect these days, isn't it? We might expect it, but it has not come to pass just yet. In fact, Aberdeen are having quite a season. They're only 2 points off Celtic and 6 ahead of Rangers. Well, that's upset the apple cart a little bit, hasn't it? St Johnstone and Ross County are in the relegation zone. There's Motherwell, who of course, they had their eye on Sam Allardyce, but I suspect he will prefer a move to England. I'd like to see where Hibernian are. I am quite fond of Hibernian. 7th place. I do believe, I don't know if this is still the case, that they have the split in Scotland, where the top 6 teams play the last few fixtures against each other, and the bottom 6 play each other. And even if you are in 7th, with a higher points total than the team in 6th, you can't move up or you can't go above them. That's it then. The top 6 are safe in their positions, and it's just a case of fighting it out for Europe. One thing that I do want to show you just before we finish is my shortlist. It's not a big shortlist, this one, because the transfer window will only open, as discussed, in January. The 3 players I'm looking at, Devon Green was recommended to me. We've discussed that in the series before, but he has picked up an injury and is only expected to be back in 4 to 5 weeks. Fitness wise, that probably takes him until mid-December before he's fit, so we might be able to put a cheeky loan bid in January. 2 that I have been impressed with in recent weeks, we've played Aldershot and Hartlepool. Mark Kitching is a left back. I actually saw him play at Mill Farm against Fylde in a friendly for Rochdale a couple of seasons ago, and I thought positionally he was very good. And we've also got Mitch Walker on there, the Aldershot goalkeeper, who's more natural as a sweeper keeper, which our boys have been struggling with so far this season. You'll also notice on the player screen that I have started to make little notes next to different players. These are mostly related to the ones that are going to run out of contract this season. So, for example, Luke Burke's note, highest paid player at the club, trying to negotiate down and offer incentives. Lewis Montrose, I mean this will be about his injury, won't it? Pay attention to injuries and fitness levels before offering a new contract. Danny Philliskirk is wanted by Tranmere, and his note is contract ends 2020, worth renewing early with Proctor returning to Rotherham. So, as we go through, what do I want to put there with Nick Horton? Suitable to League 4, League 2, should we end promotion? Offer new deal in January. That's an actual going to remind me about that one, because I will forget. Luke Burke is our... Get rid of that. Luke Burke is our highest earning player, apart from Jamie Proctor, who of course we're sort of supplementing his Rotherham wages. So 1,500 per week. Is that something that we can just negotiate down slightly for Burke? In real life, I think the club are trying to renegotiate with him to keep hold of him, because he is an extremely good right back, certainly for National League level. I think he could do a job a little bit higher, but he probably needs a team playing to his strengths. He needs one of the stronger teams in the league to allow him to get forward and overlap and do sort of the damage that he likes to cause further up the pitch. And that's it for today. That's our Snoop around the save. If there's something that I missed that you want to see, do let me know. In terms of our future schedule, episode 14 will see us face Barnet in a top of the table clash, the one that I've avoided doing in episode 13. Then we'll take on Gloucester in the FA Cup second round in episode 15. Episode 16 will be the start of our FA Trophy defence. We will play in the first round midway through December. And then for episode 17, which will probably be the last one in the calendar year of 2019 during the save, will be when we welcome our old friends Stockport to Mill Farm on Boxing Day. Thank you for joining me for this special episode. I'll be back later on during the week when we'll find out if we remain top of the league away at Barnet in the Hive.